This podcast is recorded on Gadigal, Turrbal and Yagara land. We pay our respects to the traditional custodians, past and present, and to any First Nations people listening. Hello and welcome to the Brand Odyssey podcast with me, Kylie Hannaford.
And me, Miranda Alatum. And today we have a very special bonus ep with the lovely Jarrah Brailey. So Jarrah Brailey is a friend of 3 Blocks Left and also the amazing founder and CEO of Jampacked Agency.
Hello.
Hi, Jarrah. So a little bit about Jarrah. She's an amazing social media expert. She founded her agency as a young ingenue. At 19, she founded her agency when she was just 19, which is incredible.
Has anyone ever called you an ingenue before, Jarrah?
No, I've never heard of that.
Take it.
I think it's slightly out of context, but just take it, which is just incredible to have that kind of drive and motivation when you're 19 and you've built it up to have a team of 7 social media creators and experts.
I'm so excited to be here. I think I was definitely a lot more confident when I was 19, purely out of just being naive to what was ahead. So I'm very grateful for that period of time.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what I was
And a lot more energy.
Yeah.
Just like the crazy thing when you say 19, you were actually officially still a teenager. A teenager starting a business is like, it is incredible. It's definitely not what every single teenager, myself, was doing.
And to be able to sustain that, I think it's very impressive. So we're really excited to chat to you about, because, we're doing that start creating the brand and then we hand over guidelines and then you take that and you bring it to the people. You're bringing it to life every day for years after. And so it's this constant state of reinvention, but also drawing back to like keeping on brand, keeping that tone of voice right, creating content that feels fresh and on trend and moving the needle for those business owners and generating revenue, but also still keeping that brand on track. Do you want to just give a little bit of a rundown on Jampacked?
Yes, so Jampacked is a digital marketing agency. We specialize in social media, content creation, and paid ads across all the different platforms. So Meta, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn. And who we usually work with is product-based brands. So we do dabble in a bit of service-based stuff, but generally it's that product-based client that we specialize in. And when I say product, it's not necessarily an online e-commerce store. It can be, like we're going to be speaking about today, a bakery that sells a product. We've evolved so much over the last few years with the industry. When I first came into social media marketing, it was so easy to stand out. I honestly think that's how my business grew. I have done no ads or PR or anything outside of organic social to grow my business. It was purely through just showing up online every day. And when I think back to the content that I was doing then, it was so mediocre. There was nothing that special about it, but it was so
just
easy.
There.
Yeah, I was just there and consistent and showing up. And over the last few years, the space has become so noisy, so competitive. It is really hard to stand out online these days. And that's our specialty now, is being able to take that over for brands, bring that creative strategy, align it with their brand, like we're going to chat through today, and put that out into the world in a way that's creative and unique.
Amazing. It's such a fast moving industry as well. I feel, of course, you've evolved over the time as a business does, but yeah, there must be this constant pressure just to keep up and like keep ahead even.
Totally. I think the difference between a good social media manager and a really great one is someone who is culturally fluent on the platform. So not so much in like pop culture, but more in the culture on those specific platforms that you're showing up on every single day, because that is ever evolving. It changes every single day. And if you're missing out on that context, your content will inevitably not really speak to the quirks of that unique community. So honestly, the best thing you can do to keep up with it is just be on it every day, like me.
Yeah. Chronically online, isn't it? Like that's
Yeah.
I find this funny on social media that there's so much content about not having too much screen time made for social media. They're like, there's these videos, they're like, unwind from social media, step back. But it's like, I have a feeling this might be made by AI. It feels like it's definitely to keep us online. But it's like funny as well that is also can be, when it comes to brands and business, that's actually a really positive thing, is to be connected. And maybe that's just the future. Like, we just have to accept it and go with it.
Totally. Yeah. I've been chronically online since I was 12. So I honestly don't know a different.
I think that's the difference between like millennial and like, it's like there's that growing up with it as well. Like us millennials are like so nostalgic for, I don't know, like a tape cassette. Get over it. This is the world now. Anyway.
So my mum gave me like a whole bunch of stuff the other day that she had been storing, because we all have hoarding tendencies in my family. And anyway, one of it is like a cassette tape that I had recorded for my nan, because she lived in Hobart and we're in Sydney. And so I used to create cassette tapes and like do little performances for her.
Do you have a player? Like, can you hear it?
So I actually did buy a little Walkman off Amazon and listen to it, and it's
Did you
extremely
sob?
cringy. I actually didn't. I thought I was going to get all like nostalgic, but I didn't. But it was like me and my sister reading and enacting Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh,
This is very 1986.
It's so steeped in 1986. So anyway, that was very funny. Don't bring it back. We are all moving forward. Anyway, so, one thing that I got out of that, Jarrah, is that, if you're going to be a social media manager or a digital marketing expert, you just have to accept that your whole life is going to be social media, because you have to genuinely enjoy it, right? You have to be on TikTok, like enjoying it, but also like looking for trends and what interests me, what piques my interest, what makes me act, and then using that to drive those same interactions for your clients, right? So, and it has to happen organically. Like, you can't just like be Googling or asking ChatGPT what makes people buy things off TikTok.
Yeah. And that's honestly what I look for when I'm hiring people, is I'm really looking at their degrees. I'm actually looking at their personal Instagram and TikToks to see if they enjoy creating. And usually it's such a green flag if they're posting TikToks, posting Instagrams. I'm not saying that's a non-negotiable, but it's definitely a green flag for me if they're
of course,
actually using the platform every day.
and it's very creative, isn't it? So it's like if they're into it and they're creative with it, obviously it's going to be a passion rather than forced.
They're able to express themselves on the platforms.
Yes. Jarrah, I know that you also have your own podcast, which is amazing, Jampacked Podcast. So this isn't new for you jumping on mic, but we wanted to sort of just loosen up and have a little bit of a get to know you moment, which is on our podcast, we always share a personal make and break story. So a make is where something went right, and a break, obviously, you know what it is, it's where something went wrong. We thought it would be great to get you to chat through some of those of your time in industry or career or life, whatever you feel like sharing. So we'll kick it off with a make story.
Make story. I think you guys can guess what this one's going to be, but it's the rebrand that I did.
Oh, stop it.
I'm not even just saying that because I'm on your podcast. Like, I will forever speak about that year for me as my happiest year in business. Like,
Wow.
it was honestly, I just had so much fun, and it reignited something within me and just changed the business for the better. I'd have no idea where we would be if we had our old brand.
Just for a bit of context, me and Kylie worked with Jarrah on the Jampacked rebrand with 3 Blocks Left. Was it 3 years ago or 2 years ago?
It was 2023.
2023,
so
2 years
two
ago.
and a half years ago, where we essentially went from SBJ Studios. It was the branding that I had went from when I was about 20. And then we just outgrew it so quickly. It used to be very young, kiddish. It wasn't as elevated as it is now. And we really outgrew that branding. We got to a point where the level of work that we were supplying clients no longer aligned with the clients that we were attracting. And yeah, one day I just came up with this podcast idea, and I came up with the name Jampacked. And I was so excited about the name that I took Kylie for a coffee and I said, should I turn this into, like, should I rebrand the company? Should I change the name? And she went away, had to think about it, came back. She's like, yeah, let's do this. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. And it was so much fun and just the best thing we ever did. And it has just meant the clients that we attract are actually the type of clients we want to be working with. And it's also just meant I'm so proud to share content and share our website. There was definitely a couple of years there where if I had to present a pitch deck to a client I was really excited about, I almost was a little bit embarrassed and like, ugh, this just like isn't us. Whereas now I'm really proud. And to this day, even 2.5 years later, we're still getting comments on the
Wow.
branding, and it's something that people, new clients and new leads, always mention to us that draws them in. So it was 100% a make story for us.
Oh
That's
my
so
God.
Well, we didn't expect you to say that, but thank you.
No.
But it's so funny what you were saying. It was you were talking and saying how like you felt embarrassed, and it's almost like you were turning up wearing the wrong outfit that didn't feel like yourself, and it's like you need to have that reflection in your organizations, how it feels to you. It needs to be reflected in the visual identity and the brand, and even like the language you're using, and like having that completely just felt like a match. It was like you were in a sort of square peg round hole situation.
Totally. Yeah, best thing I ever did.
Wow, that has really warmed my heart. That is just like music to our ears, and that's what it's all about. We need to get more clients on our podcast,
Yeah,
Miranda.
should we just do a testimonial episode?
Yeah.
What about a break?
I mean, there's definitely been moments where it's been awful, but I wouldn't say there's been anything that's completely broken us. But there has been, I feel like I'm kind of going through what I would call a bit of a break at the moment, where it's a big moment of redirection, where I think after almost 8 years in business, we're at this point where we're really just kind of operating at full steam ahead, and we've got full systems, we've got a team, and I've been really bogged down in the business, like the serious stuff, I think. And I've lost over the last, I'd say 6 to 12 months, I've just had this feeling of something's off, and I haven't been able to put my finger on what it is. And literally just within the last few days, I've finally had a download of what I think it is. And it's honestly just the amount of fun that I'm having within the business. And when I think back to the rebrand, for example, I was so beyond happy, and it had nothing to do with the profit we were making. It had nothing to do with money or team or anything like that. It honestly had so much to do with how much fun I was having bringing that to life, running that campaign, being creative. And I feel like as my role has evolved in Jampacked, out of the, not completely out of the creative stuff, but very much in the serious business stuff, I've just lost that creative spark. And so I'm really keen in 2026. I've got a few creative projects lined up around our own podcast and around events. And yeah, just a few things we have planned that are actually getting me excited for putting Jampacked out there again. So I'd say that's our break story. We're in the middle of it.
Yeah, I so relate to that. I think as a small business owner, you're constantly tied in this like work in the business, work on the business. And then when you start working on the business, it is just a slippery slope to people management and reconciling zero and meeting with accountants and pathways to profit or whatever. And it's like, oh, that I went into this because I love design or I love social media. And you kind of like lose that creative spark, and it is like a real constant balance to kind of not get too in the weeds with the doing, but also like keep that ability to create and put things out into the world.
100%. It was like the more I focused on profit and financials internally, the less we actually performed. Whereas when I'm out there focusing on rebrands and brand campaigns and getting eyes on us, that's when the profit's just flowing and it's just happening naturally, not when I'm kind of getting stuck into spreadsheets and that kind of thing. So,
I think
Yeah.
that's the situation with a creative, like having that kind of pressure can hinder creativity. It's like
yeah,
it needs to have space. And yeah, I think as well with small business, it's like you do wear many hats, which is hard. Like you probably, as the owners, you're so pulled in different directions all the time. And you have to be conscious to be creative, which is unusual
yeah,
thing to have the pressure on to be like, well, let's allocate 4 hours to be creative this week. Like that doesn't work either. But
yeah.
I just had a question as well with your sort of like you've had that realization recently. Do you like journal, or how do you think about the business to keep analyzing what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong? Like what's your process there?
I'm a massive overthinker, so it's all happening in here.
Yeah.
But something
Mm.
like it's like little things happen that like chip away at it, and it's like I'm figuring it out as I go. But the thing that really cemented it for me is a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, who has had a kind of similar career journey to me. She's the same age. She just landed this job that I'm like, I am so jealous. Like, you're amazing.
That's
I'm
okay.
so jealous. That is so cool. And I have never had that feeling before. I've never been jealous of
Yeah.
somebody's job before. And I started talking to my partner about it. Actually, I was like, why am I so jealous? And like, I'm trying to figure out, obviously I'm so happy for her. I'll just
Yeah,
say
You're
that.
allowed
no,
to
we
be
get that.
jealous. Jealous is good because, like, yeah, it means it's drive as well, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm like, what is it about it that I'm jealous of? And it came back to that fun thing. I'm like, that just seems like so much fun.
Mm.
And it's so impressive as well. And I'm like, I want to be, I don't know if this sounds weird to say, but I want to be that impressive person that's like, wow, she's got the coolest job, or she's having so much fun. Because I was that for a long time, whereas I feel like I've lost that a bit, where it's just become a little bit too corporate or too serious. And I want to bring back that fun and creativity.
So you're such a good person that you're jealous of fun. Like, you're not jealous of like a fancy car, or like, you're
Yeah.
jealous of fun. Like, that's why you're good at what you do.
Yes, exactly. Like, it has nothing to do with salary and everything to do with
Mm.
just like, yeah, being creative, doing cool things.
Yeah, freedom and fun. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about.
Typical creatives. Also, Jerry, you're such a nice person that you don't actually feel jealousy. And the one time you feel jealousy, you step back and you analyze why. Like, so many people are like green eyed monster 7 times a day. And you're like,
Yeah.
I have this strange feeling. It's quite uncommon to me. It's jealousy.
Yeah. Literally, this is a new feeling because I get jealous over lots of things, but never jobs. So that was
And
just
never
kind of,
properly, like where you
yeah,
like feel it in your tummy.
yeah, yeah.
So, why we're here today is that a couple of weeks ago, Miranda profiled Black Star Pastry, and the penny dropped that our very good friend, Jarrah, here actually works on Black Star Pastry, does their social media content and ads. And yeah, we just thought, what an amazing opportunity to get you on and just talk about that pipeline from brand through to dealing with the hangover of this viral moment, how you kind of navigate that, but also like just keep that brand pushing forward. We know you weren't there when they went viral, but they still have it on their Instagram handle, for instance. They're still staking the ground, but you know, as a creator, you want to keep pushing and keep pushing the brand forward. So, yeah, we thought it'd be really cool to get your take on it all.
Basically, we're stepping up the investigative journalism. We're like, we've got some in-house intel on one of our great make stories, and we didn't want to miss that opportunity. So, Jarrah, kicking off, Kylie mentioned this up front in the intro, like how interesting we find, like, as people who work in brand, how you sort of take all those like guidelines and visuals and how much of that you use as a reference when you have to evolve it into content for social media. So just with Black Star, I was just wondering, they have quite a distinct brand, as we touched on. And if you haven't listened, check out our Black Star episode. But their brand is very distinct, very, very minimal, and black and white aesthetic. But obviously that changes when it comes to social media. I was just wondering how informed you were of the branding.
Yeah, so I think one of the greatest strengths of Black Star Pastry was its branding. And as we began working with the client in the early stages, we learned very quickly that it's something that's fiercely protected by their team. It's something that they're very protective over, and they're very thoughtful about the different touch points for their customers. And I would say, from a social media perspective, this gave us a real leg up, because when a brand comes to us and they don't have that and they're really lacking brand, that can actually be really confusing for us as social media managers to be like, what voice are we doing this in? Do we need to come up with this ourselves? And usually a social media manager isn't also a brand expert. So if you're relying on your social media team to come up with the brand specifics, usually it means that your content ends up looking like everybody else's, because there's nothing differentiating you from a brand perspective. So yeah, we came in and the brand was kind of locked in. Yeah, it was definitely heavily protected by the internal team. But one thing that wasn't reflecting the brand as well as we would have liked, or as well as they'd liked, is the social media presence. They really felt it didn't encapsulate that brand as beautifully as, say, their website, stores, or their customer experience did. And I guess the best way to describe it, and from what I remember, is their social media strategy before us was very static. So as in they were heavily into that professional static imagery that I think used to perform super well for them, but over time just became a bit of an outdated strategy to have on its own with no video and like purely just static photos. So I think they did have some videos, but they were really lacking the creative depth that their static imagery had and their website had. And that really was missing that elevated feel that I think Black Star has in comparison to other pastry brands. So we helped evolve them by making their socials become more of that iconic brand touch point for their audience, just like the rest of their touch points.
And what was one of the videos, if you could describe one of the things that you came up with to shoot for them for that video content?
Yeah, what kind of things are you doing?
There's been so many things. I think there's definitely been a combination of EGC, which is employee generated content, where we're really immersing ourselves and featuring their team on their socials, and then UGC, so having customers feature, and often the Jampacked team would actually feature as customers and film content. In terms of a favorite piece of content, there were so many, but I really loved working with their head pastry chef. He's such a unique character, and it really helped that he had this beautiful French accent. So it just made the content just feel so good.
Yeah.
You're like, we found our star.
Yeah.
Yes, no, seriously. And there usually is in a lot of businesses, there's like one person or one or two people internally that you're like, yep, we're going to be harassing you for content because you are just made for it. And I'm not saying that you need to feature all of your team, but definitely if you can try and find those personalities within your business that can really bring that brand to life. And I think one of the advantages for Black Star is that they had a very diverse range of people in their back of house kitchen team, where they were not only just really nice and interesting people, but they were so passionate about their craft. And I think that's what makes Black Star Pastry, I guess, a unique selling point of theirs, is that they are so passionate about pastries. They're so passionate about cake. And I think that when we focused on them, it really brought to life the level of thought, the attention to detail, and just the resources that go into everything that's served at Black Star. And that's truly what makes them special. So bringing that to life and kind of showing the behind the scenes that you usually wouldn't, and how, just intricate the process is, was really interesting for the customers and audience to see.
That niche passion is really infectious, isn't it? On, anything. I love listening to people in their area of geekiness, just really going down a rabbit hole about stuff like that. I saw online, it was a bakery in the States who got trolled by an
I saw
influencer.
this. Yes, I
And
saw
then
this.
they kind of bounced back with this beautiful video about going through like everything that they do, because the influencer said, this is not fresh, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And so they were, this is our flour, we import it from Italy. These are our pistachios that we hand crush, or whatever she said. And she got 8 million views or something. And yeah, people just love that. And
I love that because it's like the Yelp review section come to life, and then the bad review actually, it's like any attention's good attention, and then they manage to get even more.
1,000%. Whenever a client gets any kind of negative comment, that is content gold for us. And I say that in pretty much every strategy that we present, is that we never want to be like hush hush to any negative feedback. We always want to address it, because I think consumers respect that so much.
Yeah, we
And
love it.
yeah, especially if you do it in a way that is creative and real and authentic, because people, one, they love the drama, and two, they have a transparent brand.
It's so funny, like the weird things that we're into, but like I get such a kick out of seeing a company respond to some negative feedback. I'm like, they're real, there's someone here, they're addressing it. It's that whole human element of an organization, isn't it? Like you said, the drama.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like online gossiping, around the neighborhood.
I also love the fact that like these days, like I'm just going to come up with Jetstar. Like Jetstar are like, oh, we just need some, instead of being like, oh my God, we've got a bad comment. Someone said, cheese sandwich was cold. They're like, yes, let's make a viral video.
Yeah.
Wondering about Black Star Pastry, we've discussed, super creative. How do you balance doing things that are creative and expressive and on trend, but making sure that it always stays strategic and is kind of moving towards this particular goal?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think a lot of brands at the moment, if they lack that brand presence, that's when they are heavily reliant on the trends to give them content ideas. So when it comes to trends for me, I'm usually looking at, does it actually align with the brand personality? Can you give it some sort of fresh angle if it does? And is this a trend your audience is actually consuming at the moment? So instead of, oh, I really like this trend or I'm seeing it everywhere, think about it from your audience perspective. Are they actually engaging with that kind of thing? So there's not too many trends that I can think of that we've actually participated in for Black Star. I guess the biggest one would have been, we did a car review. So there's, and I wouldn't even say that's a trend, it's just something that there is a fair bit
A
of content.
style of content.
Yes. So Elise, she's on my team, our content marketing manager, and we had a big box of Black Star pastry cakes and pies and pastries to try.
Yum, yum.
It was so good. Yeah. And we sat in Elisa's car and put the camera up just in like near the steering wheel. And then we taste tested all the different pastries and filmed our authentic reactions on camera. And that was a really fun trend and a really successful thing that we did that, yeah, really elevated the customer experience and raised awareness of the different types of cakes. And yeah, participated in, I guess you could say, a trend while still bringing the brand into it. But I'd say for Black Star, there's not too many trends that we're tapping into. We're definitely tapping into trending music, but I wouldn't say there's a particular trend that we've tapped into outside of music and potentially a couple of text hooks that we're seeing floating around. But yeah, nothing else.
I do love the car one because who hasn't got a pastry and sat in the car and eaten it
So
straight
true.
away? Like, who can wait till they're home? Especially a Black Star pastry, I would have honestly loved that. Like access to in-house pastries for free. I'm guessing.
Oh my God. It was so bad because we'd get there and we wouldn't pack food. We'd usually be like, oh, we're going to get lunch at some point, but we would just fill up on pastries and I would just be like shaking because I have sugar by the
Sugar.
end of the day and I haven't, like, sugar and coffee, that's all I've
Yeah.
consumed in that day. But it's so much fun. Like, we laugh so much, especially during that car review. I think we'd like cried laughing to filming that. It was so much fun.
Speaking of coffee, their coffee cups were a particular love of mine researching this with the little hedgehog branding. It's so cute, like with the stars and all
Mm.
these mascots they created. They're so shareable. So I was just wondering, like, obviously the brand itself was designed to be very shareable online in its visuals, but building a community, was that a deliberate part of your content strategy for them as well?
Definitely. It was actually one of the biggest gaps in their strategy that we saw when we took over. I think one of the first things we said to them is that we need to be replying to comments and every single comment, every single DM, because Black Star does have a really loyal fan base, existing fan base. And one of the biggest quick wins that we saw for when we took over was actually just replying to everyone, having consistent community management, again, whether it was a good comment or bad comment, and responding to that just to position the brand as one that's actually accessible and there's people behind it. And I think that's something that people are loving seeing from brands on TikTok at the moment, is seeing the brand not only reply to their own comments, but comment on videos that are relevant. And I think people find that so funny when there's a brand that there's obviously a social media manager behind and they're commenting something witty on a post that's relevant to their brand or industry or whatever it might be. So
It's like
that was,
Messina. Messina are very good at that, aren't they?
yes,
Like the social media manager, it's like they've broken down the third wall. It's like that's a persona
Yes.
of the company.
And is it the
100%.
police? Is it
Oh,
the
the
Yeah, I
police
police
do
or
it well.
the
Mm,
SES or something
mm.
are doing that really well?
think it's the Queensland Police.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
funny.
nailed it. Yeah.
I love that as well for the police because the police shouldn't be funny. If anyone needs a rebrand for the people, it's the Popo. So, so they've been so clever with doing that.
And what you said before about Jetstar reminded me of Ryanair. They're massively
Oh,
people on TikTok purely because they know that everybody thinks of them as
Hates
the
them.
shit airline, and they just embrace that, and they don't pretend to be anything other than the shit cheap airline. And that's why people love them and follow them, not because they're trying to pretend like, wow, we provide this amazing service and there's no delays and no cancellations. It's like, no, we know we suck and we own it, and you're choosing us because we're affordable, and
Has
that's
anyone
our.
ever caught Ryanair?
I
I
have.
Yeah, it's next level, right? When everyone's like queuing and like walking all over each other to get. I'm like, you've got an allocated seat. Like, why are you freaking out?
I
Yeah.
don't think when I took Ryanair, I don't think they were allocated.
Maybe that's
It
it.
was like a
Yeah.
free for all. And so maybe that culture
Too
has
cheap
just,
to allocate a seat. Like,
yeah, it was crazy. But like it was £6 or something,
£6.
Well, I'm talking about a long time ago, but it was really, really cheap. I remember. And it was just like a free for all. Everyone's waiting at the gate like hounds,
It's crazy.
like
But
animals.
I think that's so clever, isn't it? Because like everyone loves an underdog. So if people love to share that kind of story as well of their Ryanair experience or even their Jetstar experience. It's like kind of like connects us, and to just own it is very, very smart.
Okay, so let's move on to the watermelon cake. So they went viral with this watermelon cake, the world's most Instagrammable cake in 2012, so a long time ago. And you came on board after Christopher Tay had left. And so how do you navigate that viral legacy? As we said, they still have on their Instagram handle the world's most Instagrammable cake. You've got this viral legacy. You want to lean into it, but also you don't want it to overshadow everything. So how do you navigate that? And what was their thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when we took over, one of their goals was to raise awareness of everything else they offer, because they had just come out of that. So they'd maybe slightly pigeonholed themselves into just being the world's most Instagrammable cake, I think they were calling it. So we didn't completely cut it from the content, but we definitely tried to carry on the momentum by showing a bit of the back of house work of the cake. So showing the intricate details of how it's put together. There's actually a really top secret way of how they slice the watermelon. So we were never allowed to have any footage
Wow.
unless it was blurred.
Oh,
Yeah, unless it was blurred on the content. So that created, I guess, interest that there is something secret about it, that they don't want other brands seeing it. And actually watching it in person is insane. It's not just like chopping watermelon, it's hand cut and in a really precise way. So raising
wow.
that.
I never
Watermelon
even thought
TM.
about that.
No,
Yeah.
neither. It's like trademarked watermelon.
Yeah. Trademarked watermelon. So very top secret. So yeah, we try and build momentum off that, especially with the tagline, the world's most Instagrammable cake. I think that PR movement gave us so much social proof that we could use within our content, but we definitely don't let it overshadow the other cakes. In fact, I'd say we focused on the other cakes a lot more than that one, because we knew that one was just working for itself, and it's definitely their biggest revenue driver by far. So we didn't need to do a lot of work there to raise brand awareness. We just used that as a vehicle to raise awareness of the other cakes.
And it is delicious. Like when we did our little shot up promo video with you, we used the cake, and when you went and grabbed it for us, and I was like, excellent. This cake is I feel it lives up to its viral like claim to fame. It's delicious.
I agree. It's so good. It's so unique.
Mm. So you get these guidelines, you get these assets, maybe in a Canva account, you get that tone of voice. How do you use those assets? Do you treat them as a jumping off point, or do you treat them as a rule book? Maybe that evolves over time. And, you've been working with Black Star for what, 3 years? Do you just know it now, or just every kind of 3 months or 6 months, do you check in and go, let's go back to that brand guideline? Are we still on track? It's easy to kind of take little mini steps away, and then all of a sudden you're completely on the wrong path. And I presume Black Star also kind of are massive brand guardians
Yeah,
of
exactly.
that brand. So yeah, how do you translate those assets into kind of this meaningful content?
Yeah, so I think for Black Star Pastry, as I mentioned at the start, they are definitely very protective over their brand, and it's super helpful to have that. It's really helpful to come on to a brand that already has that iconic branding like Black Star does. I think because they are so protective of it. For Black Star in particular, we definitely use it more like a rule book, but not in the way that I think it limits our content strategy, more in the way that it brings the brand to life. So a few examples is we never feature any staff wearing white or transparent gloves. Like that's a hard no. They have to be in black gloves. And it sounds small, but it's really made a big difference to that back of house content that makes it instantly recognizable over time and different, because you're rarely seeing everyone in those black gloves. And it just looks so much more elevated than the transparent.
Wow, I love that.
It's like that color recognition when it is a single color. And like, I think like black probably doesn't stand out as much, but having that consistency in all the touch points of the brand, like that's such a great example of a static visual identity coming to life, and why that's so important for recognition.
Exactly. That there's been times where we're filming and we have to be like, so sorry, you're in white gloves. Can you change to black gloves? Just because
Don't break the illusion.
Yeah. And speaking of illusions, another example of when it came to back of house content, because we were really doubling down on that for just showing the attention to detail that goes into their pastries and their cakes. But when you're in a full production kitchen, it's so interesting to see how these things work. But as you can imagine, not everything is sparkling clean 24/7. Like benches might have flour on them, or there's a tiny bit of icing over there, or there's cooking tools sitting on the bench. There's so much happening. They produce so many cakes and pastries and things every day that, yeah, of course, it's not going to be this sterile environment where, yeah, things are just tidy all the time. But because the Black Star Pastry brand is very elevated and they don't have that kind of messy vibe, when we have been filming content, we had to make sure that we were, as we were shooting, kind of like wiping benches or maybe like shuffling things around or making sure we don't get like that container in the background. You had to be like really focused on not just what you're filming, but like what's the surroundings? Like, is there a bit of flour over there? And we were often, yeah, just like cleaning and filming and cleaning and filming. And not in the point where we're like scrubbing, but it's more like just making things look tidy and neat constantly.
Yeah. Keeping it sharp, like almost like a set. Like,
Yes,
And it's funny
exactly.
when you think about like, just this one came to mind, like Jamie Oliver is another food brand, like because he's all like, his persona is, you know, every man and just getting things done. Like often you'll see when he does videos, it's messy, you know, because that's, and you
Yeah,
never think about that. That's a considered step,
yeah.
like for all these things.
We actually have another bakery client called Cobb Lane in Melbourne. They're a chain of bakeries and they are the polar opposite to Black Star. So they're not about that kind of like sharp, elevated look. It's like, this is the kitchen. They want it to be realistic. Like they want the flour on the benches. They want the tools out because they want to like show you what the process is. And that's their brand. And that does really, really well for them. But Black Star is just, that's not their brand. So we don't, yeah, we move more into that like clean and sharp look.
I love that. Nothing is an accident. Like we, as people consuming content, we just take for granted all the hard work and consideration and thought that goes into like all this different branded content. Like we just get to pick up our phones and be like, oh, there you go, that looks nice. We don't know that behind the scenes someone's been cleaning up specks of flour for the last
Yeah.
hour. Like,
Exactly. Or like it's just so there was a couple of times where we'd get this really great video and be like, oh, someone's wearing white gloves. Like
no.
so yeah, there's a lot of retakes and thought that goes into
Planning.
all of it. And even, you know, down to when you're in a sterile kitchen environment, the lighting in there is not easy to shoot with. That can be really harsh and doesn't complement. I mean, it's good for baking because you can see things like ultra clear, but from a content perspective, that was really hard. So often we would like take a cake and we'd be running it outside into the car park and shooting it with like a little mini backdrop in the sun, like one team member's holding it up, like sweating in the sun, holding this cake, the other one's filming it. So yeah, it's definitely a hard labor that goes into it.
yeah, body's on the line.
Yeah.
You see all this stuff in the marketing world about CEOs just going to social media managers and going, I want to go viral. Do you think that going viral is still a great goal to have? Is it a net positive, or are you better off just being consistent, showing up, finding your community and leaning into that?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I definitely think it comes down to a mindset thing. If you go viral, that is rarely going to ever be a bad thing unless you're going viral for the complete wrong thing and you're getting cancelled as a brand. But going viral is always going to support your brand if you're going viral for the right reasons. But that said, if you are creating a social media strategy that is chasing that virality over and over and over again with trends that don't align with you, your audience isn't even interested in them, that's when you just become to sound and look like everyone else. And it's kind of like, what are you talking about here? What's your brand? The brand gets really diluted if you're constantly chasing viral trends. So I would say that if you are, as you said, having that more slow and considered mindset around growth on social, and then you happen to have a couple of viral videos in there, that is the best strategy. And you're probably more likely to go viral if you're being slow and considered. But also, especially on TikTok, sometimes it's not about being slow and considered. Sometimes it's about being impulsive. And every time I've gone viral, is from being impulsive. Like I see something and I get an idea and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this now. Or I take a photo of something and I think of a funny text hook or something random to put over it and I put it up. An example is literally like 2 weeks ago, I went and stayed in my dad's in the Blue Mountains, and my dad lives by himself and both his daughters, my sister and I, have moved out. So it's very much a single man cave. And it's just like, I love staying there. It's so fun, but it's like you can tell a single man lives here.
It's dad's
So
batch pad.
yeah. So I like took photos of all these things like in dad's house that I just thought was so funny. And then I put a little TikTok up that said something like things in my dad's place that just make sense or something. And you scroll through and it's like the pantry being full of food, but there's nothing to eat, or like the random screws that are around the house everywhere and just things like that. And I think
Screws, I tell you what, they're around my house. Adam's to blame for that. Like there's little bowls of screws
yes,
that mean nothing to me.
no, unexplained screws everywhere. But yeah, that one, it didn't go like millions of views or anything, but I think it got over 100K in a week or something.
Wow.
I was going to ask what your viral numbers are. Like, what do you consider a viral post? Does it depend on the size of the organization or?
Yeah, I would say it depends on your existing audience. But me personally, if a client's getting anything over 20K, I think that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you already have that existing huge audience, even then sometimes it's hard to even reach like 2% of that audience. So anything over 20K, I think you're doing well if it's in comparison to other videos.
And is that 20K views or 20K likes?
I'd say views for sure. Yeah. But likes is definitely something like if something's getting heaps of views but not much engagement, that's kind of rare. So usually you would have a fair few likes on there. I think the most I've gotten on one is 200K likes with 1 million views. And again, that was a really impulsive one of my sisters. Like obviously my family, like anytime I involve them, they're just going viral. It's never me.
But it's that funny. I don't want to use this word, but it's such a cliche word, but it's like the more you can't, like you were saying, you can't plan it. It has to be authentic.
Yes.
And like that's what people are naturally, because if it is, like you said, spur of the moment, it's like just those random thoughts you have and that's what people love. Like they don't want to see something super planned or adopting another idea and trying to repurpose it. Like it's the real life and
totally
authentic.
Yeah. Especially on TikTok. I think on Instagram, you're more likely to go viral with those planned posts. I think that is a bit easier on Instagram, but on, say, for example, an educational video showing you how to do X, Y, Z, but on TikTok, it's very much those like in the moment, it's happening now, it's live, it's impulsive, it's like you've just thrown it up with not much thought. That's what goes viral.
Can I actually ask, because obviously you're working with companies, in your brief, do you sometimes like write in, we want this content to not look polished, like we want it to look haphazard, we want it to feel like a little bit like I just grabbed a phone? Like is that something that you plan in creating content?
Definitely. An example of how we've done that is probably with another client, Mad Paws, where they're a dog sitting app. And very often we go into their office and we're shooting EGC, employee generated content. And usually the more preparation that we do in terms of here's a script, read this, the less the content performs. So we actually just go in there with like top level concepts and then see what happens on the day and edit that into whatever it ends up being on the day. But the more you're like, here's the script, here's what you need to say line by line, the less likely it's going to come across. Like you guys would have experienced it when we did that content. The more you're running on a script, the less authentic
fun
it
is. Yeah, the less fun it is for some reason. Yeah.
Going back to Black Star, Christopher Tay went viral with this cake and he struggled with it. right? From what we can tell from our investigative journalism, in terms of the massive success, all of a sudden he's known for this. He's got worldwide fame, huge growth in the business, and he's just smashing out this cake. And he wants to go and explore other things and do other things. And have you ever worked with a business where, not that it was bad for business, obviously that cake built Black Star Pastry to what it is today, but it actually had such a huge impact that it required reestablishing priorities and like, how are we going to deal with this? Do we need to put on more staff, or do we need to do a rebrand? Or, have you ever seen a viral moment really change the course of a business?
I haven't worked with a business where I've been on their account while it's changing the business or affecting the business in a bad way. Like, it's always been a good thing, but I can totally understand that it can be a bit destabilizing when, say, for example, you sell out of the product, or you don't have enough stock to support the amount of attention that you're getting, or it's actually putting the attention on something that you're not wanting to put heaps of attention on. And I feel like I actually experience this a bit in my own personal brand on TikTok. Like, I will, as I said, post those impulsive little things, and they're the things that perform. So my TikTok has become more like nothing to do with my agency or my work. It's like literally just like random moments from my life. And I think I've just got to the point where I'm like anytime I post any digital marketing content, it's never really what the audience that I've grown on there is actually wanting to see from me. It's always the funny lifestyle stuff, which I'm fine with. I think I then raise awareness of Jampacked out of that stuff. But I would say that the brands that, yeah, they are experiencing that viral shift and they're like, oh, what does this mean for our business? You do need to be strategic and carry that momentum over to the other things that you do. So thinking about ways that, okay, if we've raised awareness of this cake, there is a huge opportunity here to double down on that and raise awareness of our drinks or our other cakes or the new store we've just opened in Newtown. So I wouldn't say that, like, yeah, if it causes problems, but they're not necessarily
Bad
the worst
problems
in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, that's so true about taking that moment and redirecting it into other areas of the business and just being like super strategic about that
Totally.
the attention that you've garnered. Because
Yes.
and then I think if they went viral between, 2010, 2012, Instagram and the world was it was a completely different world. We're talking about 13 years ago. Now it's so different to, quotation mark, go viral. It's
Yeah.
a different thing, isn't it? It's a different world.
Yeah, I think it was like back when the watermelon cake went viral, it was like that was the only cake going viral for the year and the next year. But now we might have like 7 viral cakes in a 3-month period. Like, it's just faster.
And if you think about that bakery, I forgot the name that you mentioned before, Kylie, that went viral for getting that negative feedback and then they doubled down on it. They went viral for that backlash video, but they are absolutely doubling down on it by thanking their audience for coming in, really having that human-centered strategy. They've got the founder at the front of all the content. They're showing more of their processes and people are just eating it up. And they're actually, from what she's saying online, they're coming in, there's lines out the door to support this business. So, yeah, I definitely don't think it's a bad thing. You can absolutely put that momentum on other areas of your business.
Well, thanks so much, Jarrah, for carving out the time. We've loved chatting with you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks so much to the clever and chronically online Jarrah Brailey for her insights today. If you want to find out more about her agency, you can look them up at jampackedagency.com.au. On Instagram, their handle is jampacked.agency, or you can listen to Jarrah's own podcast, Jampacked, wherever you're listening to this. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. We know there's a lot of podcasts out there, so we really appreciate you taking the time to listen. And we would love to hear from you. So if you have any feedback, questions, or any suggestions for case studies, or even any funny creativity make or break stories of your own, we are very keen to hear from you. All the ways you can contact us are in the show notes, or simply go to our website, 3blocks.left.com.au.
And so ends another expedition into the lands of brands, brought to you by design and brand agency 3 Blocks Left.